Sometimes people enter our lives who at first glance seem perfect. Their charisma is captivating, their words are sweet, and their behavior is charming. You feel as if a true friend, someone you can trust, is standing before you. But over time, the truth emerges, masks fall, dark sides are revealed, and sooner or later, you realize that the person in front of you is just an illusion. These individuals can be devoid of empathy, manipulative, and cold. They possess a particular skill for controlling others' emotions, exploiting weaknesses and taking control. And the most dangerous part is this: you often realize too late that you are caught in their game. Stoic philosophy teaches us that our true strength lies in maintaining our inner calm and recognizing such people in time. Otherwise, by becoming a tool in their psychological games, we risk losing not only our emotional balance but also our self-worth. In this video, we will take a closer look at the behaviors of people with psychopathic traits and learn how to see through their mask in time. Let's now examine the 7 key signs that indicate you are dealing with a psychopath. Do you know the most powerful weapon of psychopaths? It's manipulation. They are masters at identifying weaknesses in others. At first, they speak sweetly, appear attentive, and act as if they understand you. But in reality, it's all a trap. The first sign is manipulation. During conversations, they craft their words so skillfully that you suddenly feel guilty. In truth, you haven't done anything wrong, but the psychopath convinces you otherwise. For example, you point out their unfair behavior, yet they respond by accusing you of negligence or even selfishness. Suddenly, you realize that you are now at fault, and they play the victim. This is a classic psychopath technique. Appear innocent, shift the blame onto others. Unfortunately, many people fall for it because their manipulative tactics are so subtle and logical that you instinctively move into a defensive position and become a prisoner of your emotions. This is where Stoic philosophy comes into play. Stoics teach that no one's words can disturb our inner peace if we know how to control our reactions. In other words, the key to resisting manipulation is managing your emotions. Imagine this: the person in front of you tries to anger you, to provoke a defensive reaction, but you remain calm. You don't react emotionally. You focus only on the facts. At this point, the psychopath's game fails because they cannot control you through your emotions. There is also a tactic psychopaths often use called confusion. One day they praise you, saying you are irreplaceable. The next day, they belittle you, criticize you, and make you feel guilty. This emotional roller coaster is designed to disrupt your inner balance. You start constantly questioning, why did they say that? Did I do something wrong? The goal is simple: to keep you under their influence. Stoic philosophy guides us here too. Never measure your self-worth by someone else's words. Marcus Aurelius said, if someone blames you, they are merely expressing their own thoughts. Whether to accept those thoughts is your choice. So, when faced with a psychopath's manipulation, ask yourself, am I truly at fault, or are they just trying to control me? What are my principles and values, and am I staying true to them? Remember, the power of manipulation exists only in your reaction. As long as you don't believe it or accept it, their game is powerless. In fact, a person who can recognize manipulation in time is the one who frightens a psychopath the most, because the manipulator's greatest strength is secrecy, influencing your mind without you realizing it. But once you expose them, their weapon is taken away. Therefore, if someone in your life constantly makes you feel guilty, confuses you with words, and disrupts your emotions, be very cautious. This is the first and most obvious sign of a psychopath. The second sign is a lack of empathy. Empathy is one of humanity's most essential traits, the ability to feel another's pain, share in their joy, and perceive the emotions in another person's heart. It is the bond that connects us not just as individuals, but as humans. But in the world of psychopaths, this bond does not exist. Your joy, sorrow, tears, or happy outbursts are merely tools to them. They either imitate emotions or completely ignore them, because true empathy does not exist in their nature. Imagine this. You share your struggles with a close friend, expecting support. A normal person will show solidarity, saying, "Don't worry, I'm here for you." But what will a psychopath do? They will either change the subject or respond with a cold, dismissive smile. Sometimes they may even use your pain for their own advantage. "See, you're weak anyway and I'm strong." The more dangerous part is this. Sometimes they pretend to show empathy. In other words, they act as if they share your sadness, just to better control you, while in reality, they are only learning your weaknesses. For them, your pain is the source of the game. Stoic philosophy, however, points to a completely different path. Stoics teach that a person's strength lies not only in controlling their own emotions, but also in understanding the feelings of others. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "We are made for one another. If my fellow human suffers, it is my responsibility as well." So why are psychopaths devoid of empathy? Because their goal is not to understand the other person, but to use them. They see you not as a human being, but as a tool. This becomes apparent in relationships, friendships, and even in the workplace. Imagine this. You have a colleague at work. You're sick, feeling unwell. They see this as an opportunity, exploiting your weakness to strengthen their own position. Or in personal relationships, someone sees you crying not to comfort you, but to keep you under control. Stoic philosophy teaches us not to place excessive hope in the empathy of such people. As the Stoics said, "Do not expect from others what they do not give, but never lose your own conscience." In other words, if the person in front of you does not show empathy, that is their weakness, not proof of your lack of worth. If in your life you notice someone disregards your pain, fails to share in your joy, and always puts their own interests first, this is not just cold behavior. It is a serious warning sign. Without empathy, there is no humanity. Therefore, learning to recognize a psychopath's lack of empathy is crucial. It will protect you from emotional abuse and help you better understand yourself. In reality, a person incapable of empathy is not your friend. Not a confidant, not a partner. They are simply a prisoner of their own interests. Remember, your feelings are valuable. If someone does not appreciate them, there is no reason to stay. The Stoics would say, to walk with someone who does not value you is to lose yourself. The third sign of a psychopath is that they always prioritize their own interests and gains. For a psychopath, relationships, friendship, and collaboration hold no real value unless there is something in it for them. Everything is measured by a single question. How does this benefit me? If there is an advantage, they will stay close. If not, they drift away like a cold wind. This is their life philosophy. Their own interests come first. For example, how does this show in friendships? You have been there for them for years, supporting them through tough times. But if even a small personal gain is threatened, they won't hesitate to betray you. For them, the relationship does not matter. Only the benefit does. It is the same in the workplace. If you have a psychopathic colleague, they may smile at you, seem friendly, but at the first opportunity to strengthen their position with management, they may take credit for your work. For them, collaboration is merely a tool, and the goal is personal gain. It is even worse in personal relationships. A psychopathic partner does not value love, care, or intimacy. For them, these are just games to take from others. They only consider their own needs, whether material, emotional, or social status, without any regard for the other person's feelings. Here, Stoic philosophy shows the exact opposite path. Stoics taught that a person's value is not measured by thinking only of oneself, but by being beneficial to others. Epictetus wrote, "If you live only for your own benefit, your life is confined to a small cage. But as you benefit others, your life becomes a part of the entire universe." A psychopath, on the other hand, is trapped in this cage. They are a prisoner only of their own interests, and that is their weakness. Because a person grows only by giving and becomes stronger through sharing. Think about it. A normal person rejoices in a friend's success. A psychopath, however, sees a friend's success as their own failure. For them, other people's happiness is a threat. So what should we do? If every action of the person in front of us is calculated solely for their own benefit, we need to pause and ask, what is my value in this relationship? Am I just a tool, or am I truly appreciated? Stoic philosophy tells us not to give such people excessive power. They can never be true friends, confidants, or sources of support. They think only of themselves, while we must protect our inner strength and values. Remember, someone who thinks only of themselves is actually the weakest person. Without benefiting others, their life has no true value. The greatest lesson from the Stoics is this: a person who benefits others elevates themselves, while making the world better. If in your life, you notice someone who sees only their own interests at every step and uses you merely as a tool, this is a clear sign of a psychopath. One of the most dangerous weapons of psychopaths is their attractive appearance and convincing charisma. At first glance, they seem capable of being everyone's friend. Their words flow smoothly, their gaze is confident, and their behavior is captivating. You may think, this aura and self-confidence cannot be fake, but in reality it is just a mask. This charisma often confuses people because we tend to trust those who speak well and appear confident. Psychopaths know this weakness. They carefully choose their words and even calculate their body language to impress you on the first encounter. It feels as if the perfect person is standing in front of you. But over time, behind that charm, a cold and selfish nature is revealed. For example, imagine someone new in your life gives you endless attention, constantly compliments you, and even guesses desires you haven't expressed yet. At first, this seems wonderful, but it is not true love or care. It is just a method to capture you. The psychopath uses their charm to gain your trust. Interestingly, this charm works not only in personal relationships, but also in work and social life. For instance, such individuals appear extremely confident and capable in front of management. Everyone admires their charisma, but as you work closely, you realize that in practice, none of what they say is true. Their goal is not real work, but simply self-presentation. Here, Stoic philosophy gives us an important lesson. Judge a person by their actions, not their words. Words can dazzle, behavior can deceive, but actions never lie. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you want to know who is truly good, do not look at what they say, but at how they live." This principle is the strongest tool for understanding a psychopath's false charisma, because charm is fleeting, but character is lasting. True charisma comes from a person's inner world. It is not built on flattering words or fake confidence. If someone's charisma exists only in speech but not in actions, it is a mask. Therefore, when a new person enters your life, especially one who seems overly charming, caution is needed. True value is found in silence, consistent behavior, and integrity. False charisma will eventually reveal itself. Remember, a genuine person will never play games to earn your trust. Their words and actions will align. A false person will wear a different mask each time, but one day the mask will fall. If someone in your life always appears too perfect, yet their actions do not match their words, this is a clear sign of psychopathic charisma. This is the fourth sign. The fifth sign is that psychopaths never take responsibility. No matter what happens, in their eyes, someone else is always at fault. If a project fails, it is their colleague's fault. If a relationship breaks down, it is the other person's fault. If a plan does not succeed, it is due to circumstances or chance, never their own. For them, admitting a mistake is a weakness. A psychopath's outward image is built on appearing perfect and strong. Therefore, they will never openly say, "Yes, I made a mistake." Instead, they portray themselves as the victim and shift the blame onto others. For example, consider a psychopath at work who fails to deliver an important project on time. A normal person would take responsibility and try to correct it. But a psychopath will say, "The information wasn't provided on time. Others didn't help. Management didn't explain properly." The problem is always someone else's, and they remain perfect. This trait is even more pronounced in personal relationships. For instance, during an argument, you simply express your opinion. They twist the situation to make it seem as if you caused the problem. In reality, they are at fault, but you are forced to explain and defend yourself. This is extremely dangerous behavior, because a person in a long-term relationship with such an individual begins to constantly feel guilty, loses self-confidence, and may even think, maybe the problem really is me. This is exactly what the psychopath wants, to weaken you and keep you under their influence. Stoic philosophy offers a powerful lesson here. Stoics teach that true strength is acknowledging your mistakes and learning from them. Making mistakes is part of being human. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you have made a mistake, correct it immediately. Shifting responsibility onto others only increases the error and deceives yourself." In reality, admitting one's mistakes is not a weakness. On the contrary, it is a great strength. Only a person who acknowledges their mistakes can correct them and grow. But a psychopath is deprived of this strength. They always hide their inner cowardice by making others appear guilty. If you notice someone in your life who constantly avoids responsibility, blames others, and portrays themselves as a holy victim, be very cautious. This is not merely a character flaw. It is a clear sign of psychopathic behavior. Remember, a truly strong person owns their mistakes and works to fix them. Mistakes teach us, making us wiser and more experienced. For a psychopath, however, self-preservation takes precedence over learning. By denying the truth, they maintain their false, perfect image. To avoid falling into their trap, always keep this in mind. If in someone's story, you are consistently cast as the guilty one, it is no coincidence. This is a game imposed on you by a psychopath. For psychopaths, personal boundaries are just lines on a page. They do not acknowledge them. They constantly demand more, ask more, and seek more control. Whenever you try to protect your comfort zone, they see it as an obstacle and look for ways to overcome it. Disrespecting boundaries is the sixth sign of recognizing a psychopath. For example, imagine a colleague at work. You want peace and personal time after work, but they constantly message you, send emails, and make decisions without your permission. You say, "I don't need this," but they ignore it. For them, breaking your boundaries is just a game, a way to test you. In personal relationships, it's the same. A psychopathic partner does not respect your personal space, time, or emotional needs. They constantly demand more attention and energy. When you say, "I need some time," they do not respond with understanding. Instead, they instill a sense of guilt. This is not a joke, it is a power game, designed to test your limits and find your weak points. Stoic philosophy provides a clear path here. Stoics teach that a person's inner peace and self-worth should not change according to others' demands. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not lose your principles by doing what others want." Protecting your boundaries earns respect. Protecting boundaries is not only physical or temporal, it is also emotional. You must safeguard your feelings, energy, and thoughts. A psychopath will try to interfere, but your power lies in disrupting their plan. Saying no is a sign of strength in Stoic philosophy. For most people, it seems like a simple word. But in front of a psychopath, it is a fortress that protects you. They can more easily manipulate those who say yes, but a person who maintains their boundaries becomes much harder to control. Sometimes maintaining boundaries does not feel easy. Inside, you may feel that saying no to someone's demands causes guilt or risks the relationship. But Stoic philosophy says it is impossible to please everyone, but it is essential to protect your inner values. In fact, maintaining boundaries teaches both yourself and the other person. They learn what you will accept and what you will not. A psychopath, however, cannot acknowledge boundaries at all, because in their world, everything must be under their control. Remember, setting boundaries is not a weakness. It is a sign of inner strength and independence. It is the simplest yet most effective tool for breaking a psychopath's game. One of the most dangerous traits of psychopaths is lying and duplicity. This is the seventh sign. For them, Lying is merely a tool. They recognize no moral limits in achieving their goals. Even in the closest relationships, they have no hesitation in distorting the truth. For example, a psychopath at work might promise you that you will complete a project together, but in reality, their intention is to use your effort for their own advantage. There is a huge gap between what they say and what they do. This double game is part of their everyday life. In personal relationships, lying is even subtler and more harmful. A psychopath may express love, friendship, or care with words, but their actions completely contradict them. They distort the truth to convince you, confuse you, and guide you toward their objectives. Sometimes they even make you question your memory or the reality of events, drawing you deeper into their manipulative game. Stoic philosophy gives us a very important lesson here. Truth is above all else. Anything built on lies is destined to collapse one day. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Any success based on deceit and trickery is fleeting, but honesty is lasting." The duplicity of psychopaths also continuously disrupts their relationships with others. They do not maintain a consistent persona in every encounter. They wear a different mask. This forces you to always stay on guard. You constantly think, how will they act this time? And lose your inner calm. Think about it. If someone's words and actions contradict each other, their goal is to deceive you. And remember, psychopaths do this without ever feeling guilt. For them, the outcome is always their own benefit, and principles are merely obstacles. The Stoic approach teaches the exact opposite. Base yourself and your surroundings on honesty. No matter how convincing or charming someone may seem, if their words do not align with their actions, that is already a warning. Seeing and accepting the truth protects your inner freedom. Lies and duplicity are also primary tools of emotional abuse. As a psychopath distorts the truth to manipulate you, you begin to doubt yourself. But Stoic philosophy says, if you stand firm in your mind and values, lies cannot affect you. Remember, a relationship built on lies can never be lasting. Truth, however, is unshakable. Compare the words and actions of the person in front of you, and always prioritize honesty. A psychopath's goal is to deceive and control you. Your goal must be to protect your inner freedom and peace of mind. Thus, lies and duplicity are among the clearest and most dangerous signs of a psychopath. Recognizing them in time protects both your emotional health and your inner strength. If you notice these 7 signs in someone, be very cautious. Remember, psychopaths can appear charming, confuse you with their words, and manipulate your emotions. But Stoic philosophy teaches us that real power lies not outside, but within. Your strongest weapons are your values, your inner calm, and your emotional control. Do not become a tool in their game, because only you can hold the steering wheel of your life. Whenever you encounter such a person, remain calm, protect your boundaries, and never compromise your principles. Inner strength and true freedom cannot be replaced by any external manipulation. If this video was helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your loved ones. This way, you can prepare both yourself and those around you to deal with such behaviors. See you in the next video.